Well, the RBI has held its MPC meeting through February, and what we're actually seeing is that the repo has gone up by around 0.25%, which is quarter of a percent. Now the repo has gone from 6.25% to 6.5%. What does this mean for you and for me? And how does this impact your wallet and my wallet? I'll try and break that down. But before that, let's try and bring this into perspective. At the start of this financial year, the repo was actually at 4%. Bringing it all the way to 6.5% means that all loan rates as well as deposit rates within the banking system has started to go up, has started to get repriced, right? So now your loans are going to get more expensive. On top of that, if you or me have taken a floating rate loan, whether it's a housing loan or an auto loan, the loan will start to get repriced with regard to the EMI, or that loan tenure will start to get extended. Let me try and quantify that in some numbers, right? So if you've taken a loan at the start of calendar year 22, you typically got a 6.75% loan rate for a home loan. Now that loan rate, if it was a floating rate, is currently at 9.25%. Let me try and quantify the impact. If 50 lakh rupees was your loan amount and 6.75 was your borrowing rate at that point of time, your EMI has actually gone up by 21% over the last year or so. That's a very, very solid increase. Think about that. Let me also take it to the cumulative interest that you will pay over the tenure of 20 years. It's a 45% rate of interest. So why, or increase in interest rather, but how are people affording it, right? What typically then happens is that they tend to stretch the tenure of the home loan. So the home loan from a 20-year tenure will become a 30-year tenure, and typically your rate will not, your EMI will not change. So that's how it actually works. But that still impacts your wallet in a very big manner. Similarly, for an auto loan, if you were to, if I were to extrapolate the same kind of data for a 5 lakh rupee auto loan, your EMI is up 4% versus last year, 0.5% since December, and the cumulative interest payout over the tenure of your loan has gone up by a staggering 30% versus last year. So it's a very solid increase, a very meaningful increase on your and my wallet. So why has the repo been hiked by 0.25%? Well, inflation has steadily started to come off. That's a positive. But inflation at one point of time was at 7.8%. The RBI at the upper tolerance band allows an inflation of 6%. So to bring that down, right, that was largely the reason why the repo has now gone up. Also, think about it this way. If the repo is at 4% and inflation is at 7.8%, that means your savings, your FDs typically will not be earning inflation plus returns, right? They'll be earning returns less than inflation, which is not healthy for the system. So now that the repo is at 6.5 and inflation is at 5.7, you're seeing a reversal that's happening. So your real interest rate, which is coming in your hands, is now in positive territory over the last 2 to 3 months. That's a big positive that has come through because of this. The RBI, though, continues to remain cautious on inflation. They believe the core inflation is still quite elevated, so they want to remain cautious on inflation, and they've continuously hiked rates despite inflation coming off. So, and of course, the other piece is that the commodity price pressures continue to be there in the system. So there's a commodity inflation risk which continues to remain in the system, and there is of course global growth headwind, as well as exports are going to get impacted going forward. So those are some of the other concerns which the governor addressed today. He also spoke about how the current account deficit in the second half of this year will start to come off. That's a positive not only for currency but also for your and my wallet. Further, what he also expects is the agri economy to come back in a more strong manner. He's seeing the agri economy come back. He's spoken about it a couple of times in his speech, and he also sees rural demand and consumption improving. Those are largely the positives coming out of this particular address by the Governor of the Reserve Bank of India.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.